The governor is issuing a new mask mandate. I'll tell you who it applies to.
Then a new executive order is put in place today.
We do pay a very healthy wage.
We'll show you how it'll help Utahns get back to work, plus the role one company says it will play.
It was another beautiful day here across the state. Lots of sunshine. So will things be changing as we head into Easter weekend? Your forecast is coming up.
Allegations of inappropriate conduct against a Utah teacher. We hear from someone representing the teacher as the investigation moves forward.
A homeless camp is cleaned up here at Rio Grande just a few days after Mayor Aaron Mendenhall says we need another shelter here in Utah. We'll break down this complicated issue coming up.
And Utah workers made a change during the pandemic, more than people in any other state. We look at why Utahns shifted their shifts more than anyone else.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13's Live at 5 starts right now.
Next week, I'm very excited to announce that we will receive over 106,000 prime vaccine doses.
And that will be the largest single-week initial COVID-19 vaccine shipment yet, all thanks in large part to more than 40,000 Johnson & Johnson vaccines now coming to the Beehive State.
That big announcement from Governor Spencer Cox is just one of several made today in the fight against COVID-19. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Bob Evans.
And I'm Kelly Chapman. We do have team coverage for you this evening. Fox 13's Diego Romo reports on a new program to help those who've been out of work because of the pandemic to prepare to return to work once again.
But first, Fox 13's Ben Winslow reports on a new complication in the battle against COVID-19.
The governor was here outside Hill Air Force Base for an economic recovery announcement, but he also had some good news to report about Utah's battle with the COVID-19 pandemic.
Over 500,000 people have now been fully vaccinated.
Utah has reached a big milestone for vaccines and will get more doses next week. Cases and hospitalizations are dropping.
We've known from the very beginning that vaccines are the quickest way to end this pandemic. And while we still don't have enough for everyone, we encourage people to continue to wear masks until everyone gets an opportunity to get that vaccine.
None of Utah right now is in a high transmission area for the virus. Also good news. But the state epidemiologist says they've documented 96 cases of what are called breakthrough illnesses. It's people who are fully vaccinated but still get COVID-19. So far, the cases represent less than 0.02% of those inoculated.
There is some concern, of course, with the variants emerging that there will be decreased effectiveness among the vaccines, but they're still very effective vaccines.
The governor says despite some groups' pressure, he will not be lifting the mask mandate for Utah schools.
It is still necessary right now so that we can keep kids in school, we can keep the transmission of the virus low.
But Fox 13 has learned the governor has issued a new mask mandate for state employees and state-owned facilities. It means masks will still be required in places like the Capitol and state liquor stores until May 31st.
We want to make sure our employees all have an opportunity to get that vaccine before we take the masks away in those workplaces, Ben. And so we anticipate that by the end of May, everyone will have the opportunity.
But the governor signed the COVID-19 endgame bill to lift the mask mandate for the public on April 10th. He defended it, saying lots of companies are still requiring masks.
There's a difference between government mandating it and then giving people the freedom and the ability to choose that if they do. And so as an employer, I felt like that was important for our workforce.
As we've been reporting this week, county governments can issue mask mandates on their own under the COVID-19 endgame law. Some are considering that. In Roy, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Now to the latest COVID-19 numbers. Utah saw 487 new COVID cases today. This now brings the total to more than 386,000. The 7-day average positivity rate is 6.8%.
3 more Utahns have died from COVID-19, 2 women and 1 man from Washington, Weber, and Salt Lake counties. The total lives lost in Utah is now 2,125.
And just over 46,000 vaccines were administered here in Utah yesterday. More than 500,000 Utahns are now considered fully vaccinated.
Governor Cox and Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson also announced today a new executive order to help Utahns get the skills and training needed to re-enter the workforce.
Fox 13's Diego Romo spoke with a participating company about how the program will help people looking for work.
Under the governor's executive order, state agencies will be required to identify and create new returnship opportunities for people across the state. Utah is the first state government in the country to offer this type of program.
Unlike internships, which are designed primarily for young people at the beginning of their careers, the goal of a returnship program is to help experienced adults re-enter the workforce without starting at the bottom of the career ladder.
The returnship initiative is primarily targeted at women and mothers who have been more heavily impacted by the effects of the pandemic on the job market. But it's open to anyone who has taken time away from their career and wish to get back to work.
Such as full-time parents, military personnel or their spouses, caregivers, professionals who may have left their careers to advance their education, or retirees.
Returnships will give people access to training, updated experience for their resumes, as well as mentorships and skills needed in the modern workforce.
The purpose of this returnship initiative is not only to help people who want to get back to work, but also to help provide an innovative way for employers to find solutions to their workforce needs.
Northrop Grumman is one of the local businesses offering returnship opportunities.
This is a 12-week cohort that will bring in folks who've been out of work, specifically females and women. Folks who've been out of work for at least 2 years, out of the workforce, and look for opportunities on where they might fit within our organization and the team.
The program at Northrop Grumman, called iReturn, will help those in the cohort brush up on skills or transition into a new career inside the organization. All of the iReturn positions are paid and allow individuals to pick up their careers where they left off, rather than having to start from scratch.
We do pay a very healthy wage, and really driving the wage gap through all different demographics, female, male, and all different demographics in the area.
In addition to the iReturn program, Northrop Grumman is hiring about 100 people a month, according to Manuel. We'll link you over to where you can find information about open job opportunities as well as the iReturn program at fox13now.com. In Roy, Diego Romo, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, there are good opportunities out there. Listen to this. As part of Governor Cox's executive order, there is $15 million in new funding now available for the Learn and Work program, which does provide financial assistance to those in short-term training programs in industries such as computer science, healthcare, manufacturing, transportation, and business.
Well, not only is this coming up Easter weekend, we also have LDS General Conference this weekend. A lot of people are going to be outdoors for various reasons.
You know what? I thought it used to be every time there was General Conference, there was a lot of rain downtown.
That certainly has been
I've heard that.
A tradition.
Yes, but this weekend, we're not going to have any of that. So we're breaking tradition this year, and it's gorgeous. We've got people out golfing on the Olds Mill Golf Course. Look at that there. So a beautiful afternoon. If you're planning on doing any outdoor activities this weekend, you can even do an early tea time. It's going to be pretty mild for the morning, so it's all very comfortable out there. But temperatures here across the state right now, most of us around 60 to 70 degrees, so it's warm. And here's what we have going on satellite and radar across southern Utah: increasing clouds. Now, most of the green that you were seeing is not going to reach the ground. There's a chance for some virga. It's just so dry at the surface. Virga is basically when it tries to rain, but it doesn't make it to the ground. It dries up before it makes it to the ground. So we've got a chance for that tonight. Wind fairly light here across Utah. It's been a bit breezy. Cedar City about 20 to 25 miles per hour right now. But the rest of your Thursday night here in Salt Lake, we're in the 60s till 7 p.m. and then we're into the 50s. Waking up tomorrow morning, it's going to be mid-40s to upper 40s. 8 a.m., 47 degrees. So if you want to go for a walk tomorrow morning, it'll be even comfortable to do first thing. By noon tomorrow, lunchtime into the 60s. Tomorrow's even hotter. We're even hotter heading into Easter weekend. I'll have your full forecast coming up.
George Floyd's girlfriend and paramedics took the stand today in the murder trial of a former police officer charged with killing Floyd. See the emotional testimony next.
And Utah Senator Mike Lee takes the CEOs of Google, Apple, and Amazon to task over what he calls censorship of conservative voices. Details ahead. In national news, more emotional testimony in the Derek Chauvin murder trial as George Floyd's girlfriend took the stand today.
Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter is in Minneapolis with a recap.
Day 4 in the Derek Chauvin murder trial, and we're hearing from paramedics who first responded to the Cup Foods on Memorial Day 2020. Paramedic Seth Broviter said that When he and his partner arrived at the Cup Foods, George Floyd was unresponsive.
I asked, is he in cardiac arrest? And he said, I think so.
So, you use the word cardiac arrest. What does that mean?
It's the term we're going to use for anybody that's not responsive, not breathing, and doesn't have a pulse currently.
Okay. So, essentially, does that mean that someone's heart is stopped?
Yeah.
Earlier today, we heard tearful testimony from the girlfriend of George Floyd, Courtney Ross. She described her relationship with Floyd and testified that she and Floyd, in their nearly 3-year relationship, both struggled from opioid addiction.
After prescriptions that were filled and we got addicted and tried really hard to break that addiction many times.
Chauvin faces up to 40 years if convicted of the top count of second-degree murder. In downtown Minneapolis, I'm Chanley Painter with Court TV.
Find the latest updates on the Derek Chauvin murder trial on our sister network, Court TV. Over the air, that's channel 13.3. They're also available on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, and on Android devices.
Police now say they know what prompted yesterday's mass shooting at a Southern California office that left 4 people dead. It was the 3rd mass shooting in the U.S. in the past 3 weeks. Investigators believed it was related to a business and personal relationship between the suspect and all of the victims.
Mr. Gonzalez is eligible for the death penalty. This is a special circumstances case. There were multiple victims. And we are now presently looking at whether his locking of the front and the back gates constituted a lying in wait, which would also be eligible for death.
The FBI is also involved in the investigation, but says the Orange Police Department is taking the lead.
Utah Senator Mike Lee is taking on the CEOs of Google, Apple, and Amazon. Yesterday, he sent a letter to all 3 regarding their actions that led to the conservative social media platform Parler being taken offline after the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol. Senator Lee has said these types of actions by big tech companies have been a collective effort to suppress and even censor conservative voices. You can read Senator Lee's letter in its entirety at fox13now.com.
Still to come, how long do the COVID-19 vaccines really last? We'll take a closer look at one company's way of finding out.
And have you had any problems getting an emissions test while renewing your vehicle registration lately? We'll explain why it's part of a much bigger issue happening right now.
Hi, everyone. Summit County now saying it will not extend a mask mandate past April 10th. That's when the statewide mask mandate will expire. The county health department says businesses, however, may continue requiring masks, and they're asking you to comply with any of those requirements. And while there will be no mask mandate, the health department still encourages you and your family to continue social distancing and mask wearing.
Meantime, Johnson & Johnson is announcing a setback with its COVID-19 vaccine, saying 15 million doses are ruined because of a mistake at a manufacturing plant. Since 2017, the company at the center of this mishap has been cited by the FDA for several violations, including poorly trained employees and unsanitary conditions at one of the facilities.
People should realize that all the doses that have been distributed to us and have been administered did not come from that plant. So this is not related in any way to any of the J&J doses that people have already gotten.
No word on whether this will impact Johnson & Johnson's goal of delivering 100 million vaccine doses by the end of May.
With the news of the Pfizer vaccine being effective for at least 6 months now, it does beg the question, one we've talked about at length, Bob, I'm sure you have as well at home. How long will COVID-19 vaccines protect people against the virus?
Maya Rodriguez spoke to the developers of one test that tries to provide some answers to that question by checking how many antibodies you still have months later.
More More than 50 million people in the country are now fully vaccinated against COVID-19.
Most of America is already speeding towards normalcy.
But one question is emerging. How long will the vaccines remain effective in protecting the human body against the coronavirus?
It's obviously a new virus here on the planet, and relatively speaking, and I don't think people know everything about it yet.
John Hugh Muller is with Axim Biotechnologies, a company that just developed Immunopass, a new test now undergoing FDA emergency approval. It determines how many neutralizing antibodies a person has against COVID-19.
The end point of all vaccines is to create as many neutralizing antibodies. So these neutralizing antibodies will actually attach to the spike protein on the virus. And that stops the virus from then attaching to your ACE2 protein in your body, which is how it gets into your body to begin with.
But over time, those neutralizing antibodies begin to diminish. When a booster shot might be needed is unclear. Immunopass checks antibody levels in a few drops of blood within 10 minutes.
Everybody is different, and whether or not the vaccine will last for 6 months, 9 months, a year, nobody knows at this point because it's too early. But with our test, you're actually able to monitor your neutralizing antibodies.
Testing for those neutralizing antibodies will become critical across the globe as more people get vaccinated, because experts say COVID-19 is likely to circulate around the world for years to come. If approved, the test would first be administered by medical professionals before potentially moving to over-the-counter.
This virus is going to stick around, which a lot of people think it's going to be here for the rest of our lives, and you do need that annual shot, kind of like the flu shot. Then we hope to be able to have the test that can tell you when that is. Because again, everybody's different.
But all facing the same COVID threat. I'm Maya Rodriguez reporting.
What an unbelievable day. Temperatures just about perfect. And I'm always cold. Allison, Bob,
That's
you know
true.
this. I'm always cold.
Wearing her coat all the time.
My air conditioner today.
Did you?
My car driving here,
In
yes,
your
with
car?
the sun beating in the driver's side window.
It's one of those times of the year where the upstairs of your house, whatever the top level is, if it's a one-story house, everything's the same. But if you have a two-story house or a basement, it's just so different around the house. And we do have that sunshine, so really beating into the windows. And then also, we don't really have a cool down coming anytime soon. Now, this is not great news. We'll be dry the next couple of days. So our drought monitor that gets released every Thursday shows you across the region it's the same as it has been, which is a big problem. We have exceptional to extreme drought continuing here across the entire state. So widespread drought continues. And for southern Utah, we've got clouds and we have some areas of green on the radar. So you might think there's rain, but I do think the bulk of that will be Virga, which is rain that doesn't make it to the ground because it's too dry at the surface. And then for Easter weekend, it's going to be very hot. So if you haven't switched over to the air conditioning in your house or you've gotten those fans out of storage, this would be a good time to do so. The wind is going to pick up on Monday, and also keep in mind it's going to be so warm that we'll want to be extra careful with pets and kids. This is the time of year where it's way too hot and things can become deadly very quickly in a car. So it's 65 right now here in Salt Lake City. The wind is about 10 miles per hour out of the west. And here's what we have going on the satellite and radar. High pressure is the main story. However, there is an upper low that is associated with this and bringing additional clouds, dark clouds right now near the Arizona border. Most of this will not reach the ground, but we might see a few areas of scattered drizzle, but besides that, not a whole lot. Zion National Park, way increase of clouds in just the last hour. As expected, this will remain through the evening, and we'll have some breezy conditions at times for southwestern Utah right now. Milford, about 25 miles per hour, but those temperatures here across the state, most of us around 60 to 70, but you might be wondering with the Easter weekend, what can we expect? Is it going to keep getting hotter? The answer is yes. So those temperatures, they've been just adding every single day. Tomorrow we're going to have an even warmer day, but compared to yesterday, it's about 10 degrees warmer out there. So as you wake up tomorrow morning, it'll be around 43 degrees here in Salt Lake. Clear sky, highs tomorrow, 70s here in Salt Lake City, lots of sunshine. And then the extended forecast will call for those cooler temperatures in the middle of next week. But for Futurecast for tonight, Keep the clouds mainly across the southern third of Utah. Some areas of drizzle possible, but the bulk of that not quite reaching the ground. That's out of here. We're back to sunshine tomorrow, and then heading into this upcoming weekend, we'll keep it sunny and it's going to be even hotter. But tomorrow morning as you wake up, it'll be about 25 to 45 degrees. Most of us at the higher end of that, 20s and 30s for the mountains. And by tomorrow afternoon, it'll be around 60 to 75 degrees. 80s for St. George. 80s and close to 90 for Saturday and Sunday. Just went ahead and bumped that up a degree, so could make it into the 90s. By Monday, it becomes breezy, and then we'll cool down by next Tuesday and Wednesday, just a little bit. For Salt Lake City, we're close to 75 to 80 through Monday. We cool down with chances for rain early next week. Let's talk more about that coming up in the next full forecast.
A Springville high school teacher has resigned after accusations of sexual harassment. Hear from one former student about the allegations being made against Dan Money.
Plus, more people from Utah are working at home more than any other state. We'll take an in-depth look at why. In today's Money Watch, a new Gallup poll finds about 46 million Americans would be unable to pay for quality health care if they need access to it today, right now.
The numbers rise significantly for minorities in the U.S. Even as the pandemic has everyone thinking about health, about 18% of Americans admit to skipping doctor appointments because they can't afford it. The poll suggests rising unemployment and the cost of health care are to blame for these staggering statistics, leaving many people to choose between their health and being able to pay other bills.
Some people decided to use government stimulus payments to help them buy a new car. CarMax saw higher sales last quarter. It says the stimulus money helped maintain used car demand despite severe weather in February and the pandemic's disruption of its business. Now, even with higher sales, CarMax did report a smaller profit than a year ago.
It was a good day on Wall Street. The Dow Industrials closed up 172 points at 33,153. The Nasdaq added 233, and the S&P climbed above 4,000 for the very first time, adding 47 points. Still ahead, new details about a Springville high school teacher who resigned this week over allegations of sexual harassment, how one student described his experiences with the teacher, and how the teacher is now responding.
A homeless camp cleaned up here in front of Rio Grande today. We'll break down the complicated homelessness issue surrounding this community coming up.
And it's a case that has gone viral. See what one high-profile attorney says about the Real Housewife accused of fraud.
The Springville high school teacher who resigned under pressure yesterday is finally responding to the allegations of sexual harassment.
Current and former students claim Dan Money made inappropriate comments to them and also made unwanted physical contact.
Some of them held a rally on Monday demanding that Money be fired. The Nebo School District first put him on paid leave, and then he quit.
Now, his lawyer did send Fox 13 a statement today calling the allegations, quote, false. He says he and his family have been victims of unrelenting social media firestorms and that he resigned to move forward in his life without distractions.
Today, we have an in-depth look at the story with some of the accusers and one of the nation's most famous women's rights attorneys. Here's Fox 13's Aaron Cox.
More than 60 people reached out to me messaging their stories. We chose to speak with those who shared firsthand accounts of dealing with Mr. Dan Money as a teacher. It was in the late 90s. Philip Graves was a student at Springville High School.
He was like a health teacher for me, and then he actually was one of the coaches on the baseball team.
Graves says Dan Money was a good coach and teacher, but then there was an incident during a driver's ed class.
Turned, but didn't turn all the way, and he wasn't super happy with that, so he reached and grabbed my ear and yanked it around to make sure that I switched my body all the way around and turned to look to the rear, and it hurt. He pulled it hard enough that there was a pop.
Phil, what do you wish 15-year-old you understood?
15-year-old me was a lot less and a lot less experienced, didn't really know the world.
Graves says he did not report the incident until this week, using the Safe Utah app and filing with the Nebo School District.
He started talking to me, but not to my face. He talked straight to my breasts.
Another former student, Tiffany Shurtleff, posted on YouTube describing encounters with money that she says have left her scarred.
He would say super condescending things about my body and intelligence. I usually muted them out, but I remember one thing he said so vividly. Quote, "If you weren't so skinny, those shorts would look so much better on you."
Gloria Allred, a victim's rights attorney not connected to this case, says harassment often lands in civil court and not necessarily in a criminal court of law.
It is a form of justice. It is a form of making the wrongdoer, the sexual harasser, accountable for what he or she has done.
When does a complaint go from a harassment complaint to something that can be litigated as a criminal complaint?
Sexual harassment itself is not ordinarily a crime, either under state laws or under federal laws. But certain conduct committed in the course of sexual harassment, or even without technically being sexual harassment, may also be crimes.
Harassment, the accusers say, had lasting impacts.
It was damaging, and it was something that has stuck with me.
A spokesperson with the Nebo School District confirmed to Fox 13 that they still will investigate these allegations made, even though Mr. Money has formally resigned. In Salt Lake City, Aaron Cox, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Another big talker, Real Housewives star Jen Shah's upcoming court hearing. Attorney Greg Skordas here in Utah says it is common to have telemarketing fraud cases like this in retirement states like Arizona, Nevada, Florida, as schemes tend to target older people. Skordas also says cases with so many victims can be tricky, but the government is handling the federal case well.
But the government seems to have its ducks in a row. They seem to have done a very good job of putting this case together, at least on paper. And so it's a difficult case to prosecute just because of the number of victims, and it's a money case. It's a financial case, so you got to follow the money.
There's a lot of eyes on this case. Jen Shah will have her court hearing tomorrow morning. Yesterday's hearing had to be canceled after too many people got onto the virtual hearing, causing a virtual mess.
A homeless camp behind the old Rio Grande train station in downtown Salt Lake has now been removed for health reasons.
This comes after Salt Lake City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall admits more shelter beds are indeed needed. Spencer Joseph reports from where the camp is.
This was the scene Thursday behind the Rio Grande.
This accomplishes nothing. I mean, man, they could be doing something better with the money.
This cleanup comes as earlier this week, Mayor Aaron Mendenhall said during an interview,
"I believe we do need another shelter in the state of Utah."
Fox 13 Wednesday reported on this exact same camp, with many saying they had very few options, with 3 shelters reaching capacity. Thursday, those being removed wished the money would go to building more housing instead of cleanups.
Building affordable housing, I mean, something productive instead of wasting time doing this, knocking down tents.
The homeless crisis is complicated. On one hand is the question of where these individuals will go, and on the other hand, how to keep conditions healthy and sanitary.
It's become a public and environmental health problem.
For Dale Keller, manager of the Salt Lake County Environmental Health Bureau.
So the health department has a compelling interest and also requirement to address those concerns.
Outreach has been done for 2 weeks at this camp, as well as a resource fair being held to help people into shelters, as well as vaccinate individuals for COVID-19.
52 took up the bed and shelter offers, and 4 have taken up detox placement offers.
But Thursday was strictly about cleaning up.
My component here is really focused on the public and environmental health piece. I'm not the social service component.
For Jonathan Barker Bell, he says he's on the verge of getting off the streets.
Yeah, I actually work. I actually have a job. I'm gonna get an apartment this year. Yeah, so I'm gonna get out of this mess.
But for others, he worries, and he wonders when this cycle will end.
You know, it's and they come back and they do it again. And, how much money it's costing? I know how much money it's costing. It's costing a lot. It's costing too much money.
The Salt Lake County Health Department works with the city and other property owners to figure out when it is time for conditions like what was behind me to become what they call unhealthy and to start cleanups. Now, as for the shelters, we called yesterday around to those 3 shelters in Salt Lake County. They were all nearing about 90% capacity. In downtown Salt Lake City, Spencer Joseph, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Utah lawmakers passed HB 347 this year, which creates the Office of Homeless Services and the position of Homelessness Coordinator. They also added an extra $50 million to housing and homelessness in this year's budget.
The Utah Highway Patrol is beefing up patrols to crack down on people driving under the influence over the upcoming weekend, which is a holiday. Easter is on Sunday. So starting tomorrow, troopers will be working 50 extra DUI shifts and 84 extra traffic enforcement shifts. Troopers will also conduct a statewide DUI blitz each night from Friday until Easter Sunday. This will last all weekend and then end on Monday.
If you had any issues when you tried to get an emissions test on your vehicle done recently, you're not alone. State officials say the company that runs the software, A+ Technologies, is experiencing a nationwide system outage. A+ administers the emissions testing software for Salt Lake and Weber counties and a handful of other states. If you run into any issues when you renew your registration, the DMV can issue a 30-day temporary permit to get an emissions test completed.
You know, it's going to be hard to beat today's weather, Allison.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous outside, just perfect.
Well, how about tomorrow? Same thing, a little bit warmer, and then it's a Friday. So I think I actually can beat that. But right now it's a bit breezy. This is a live look State Street from right in our mountain cam. You can see that camera bouncing around a little bit. The flag definitely blowing right there. Our wind is about 10 to 15 miles per hour. Mid-60s currently here in Salt Lake. Beautiful view downtown. Dry roads for the evening commute tonight. You'll have dry roads again tomorrow morning for the morning drive. It's in the 60s even for Park City. It's a beautiful spring day. 59 for Tooele, 63 for Eden, 65 for Ogden right now. St. George close to 80 degrees, 76. Over in Price and Vernal, 60 and 62. Satellite and radar here across Utah shows you mostly clear sky. More clouds have moved into southern Utah as expected. And what you're seeing on the green on that radar, that is mostly going to be Virgo. We're not going to see a lot of that reaching the ground, but the chance for a few areas of very light rain showers. Salt Lake the rest of the night, a very beautiful spring evening. It'll be in the 60s until the 7 o'clock hour, and then we're back into the 50s starting at 8 o'clock tonight. Wind is fairly light here across Utah, mostly 5 to 10 miles per hour for the north. Southern Utah, we do have a few areas that are about 15 to 25 miles per hour, but waking up tomorrow morning, it'll be a mild start. And then we're going to have much hotter temperatures for Easter weekend, and the wind will pick up on Monday ahead of more chances for some rain. I'll have your full forecast coming up.
Several cities in the Salt Lake Valley are looking for more transportation options as the population continues to grow. How you can give your input coming up.
And when you cannot watch Fox 13 News live, you can always watch us streaming online for free. Find us on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. Just search Fox 13 on your device to watch the news on your time. We'll be right back. Car thefts are on the rise in the Salt Lake Valley, including one this morning that led to a police chase and then an arrest. This one ended on Redwood Road. You see it here. The suspect, however, didn't stop until after the tires on that stolen vehicle were spiked not once, but twice. Salt Lake police say auto thefts are up 66% this year and say a lot of it has to do with vehicle owners not protecting themselves from becoming victims.
A lot of them times they've broken into a car to try to steal something that somebody's left inside, and they end up finding that the keys are there. They push the button if it's a push button and the car takes off, or they're hanging outside a convenience store and somebody runs in to grab a drink and their car disappears. So no, these aren't masterminds of trying to plan out a car theft. It's a lot of it is crime of opportunity.
The Salt Lake Police Association says a big factor for a repeat offender is the lack of severe punishment.
Whatever they want to do is what we are going to try to make happen.
The Utah Democratic Party is now apologizing for its handling of sexual assault allegations 4 years ago. A letter from the organization follows the condemnation of sexual harassment claims within Utah's Republican Party over the weekend. Those in the party say they failed those accusing then-candidate party chair Rob Miller, and they want to re-examine their approach to the situation.
As we've seen, ignoring a problem isn't going to make it go away. And I'm hopeful that after this, we don't ever have to talk about this event again, and we can move forward as a party who has made it clear that we don't stand for sexual harassment.
The Utah Democratic Party also says it is renewing its effort to stop harassment on all levels within the organization. We've reached out to those who accused Miller of sexual harassment in 2017 and will update you when we hear back from them. As the population in the Salt Lake Valley continues to grow, several cities want to hear from you when it comes to how to improve transportation options.
Yeah, you could really help out here. Salt Lake, South Salt Lake, Mill Creek, and the city of Holiday are the cities participating in the Local Link study. They're now asking for people in the community to give feedback on their preferred type of transit to try and reduce congestion between the cities. 4 potential transit types have been identified: a streetcar, a light rail, bus rapid transit, and an enhanced bus.
We looked at quite a few different metrics for how each of those would operate. We looked at how much ridership, for example, how much ridership each of those would carry, which is different for all 4 of those.
They also looked at environmental impacts and the cost of each option. The study is looking at 2 main routes, Highland Drive and 1300 East, extending from 21st South in Sugar House to 4500 South in Holiday. Anyone living in these cities can help choose the best option by visiting the Local Link study, which we have on our website, fox13now.com.
Did your workday look more like this at home last year than at any other time? Utahns made that switch more than anyone else. We'll tell you about it.
Coming up in sports, we'll hear from Mike Conley after leading the Jazz to a big win last night in Memphis, and it's opening day in Major League Baseball. And there were already some weird plays on the diamond. The highlights are on the way.
Welcome back, everyone. You may be part of this group. More Utahns changed their work schedules to be home during the pandemic than residents of any other state in the country.
That's really something. The information is from a special survey by the U.S. Census Bureau. Fox 13's Max Roth breaks down exactly which Utahns made the shift to a different kind of shift.
The census takes regular, massive pulse surveys during the pandemic to get the pulse of America. How are we doing and what are we doing? You look inside the numbers and you see Utahns who made the change because they could, Utahns who made the change because they had to, and why Utah changed in this way more than anyone else. The question, did an adult in your house substitute some or all of their in-person work because of the coronavirus pandemic? Only the District of Columbia teleworks more than Utah. Executive government jobs are tailor-made for a telecommute. But Utah tops all other states. Almost 53% of households made that shift. This is household income. More Utahns with money may have more choices, and they are choosing to telework in huge numbers. See the big jump when income is about $75,000? Look at education in Utah. It makes sense that the bachelor's degree lends itself to jobs that allow telecommuting. The mystery, why is the second highest category those without a high school diploma? Hispanic Utahns were more likely to telework than non-Hispanic, white more than black, with Asians in Utah reporting less telecommuting than the rest. But if you want to know why Utah has so much telework, take a look. What does Utah have more of than any state? Children. And it looks like parents in Utah were far more likely to alter their work to be home. So Utah as a whole teleworking more. It's not a big mystery there. Other national studies have shown that women have made this switch more than men, and many have lost income in order to do it. In studio, Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, I stand corrected, Allison. I made the comment before we saw you last that it's going to be hard to top today's weather, and you did it. You are going to tell everyone how it's going to get even better.
And tomorrow's Friday. The timing of this could not be more perfect. It's a holiday weekend. It's a long weekend for many of you, but it is stunning currently. Clear blue sky here across the north. Mid-60s in Salt Lake City. I'm getting a lot of messages from people in southern Utah being like, what's the deal with the clouds in St. George right now? This was expected. I expected the clouds to move in this afternoon. We'll see some areas of very light rain, but mostly the rain won't be reaching the ground because it's so dry at the surface. But right now, 76 for St. George with wind out of the west about 5 miles per hour. Let's go ahead and zoom into southern Utah. Lots of clouds. We've seen those really increasing over the last hour or so, especially. So earlier at the beginning of the 4 o'clock newscast, we saw a few clouds on our Zion camera, but those clouds have really definitely filled in. But Colorado City, some areas of light rain again. A lot of this isn't going to reach the ground, but if we do see any of that reaching the ground, it will be coming down as rain. Pockets of wind as well. Right now, Elko, Ely, and Cedar City, plus Evanston, about 20 miles per hour for some wind gusts. But our temperatures today, highs in the mid-60s. Tomorrow is going to be about 5 to 10 degrees warmer, and the rest of your night here in Salt Lake, if you haven't gotten a chance to get outside, just take 5 minutes. If you're busy today, just promise you that'll make you feel a lot better getting outside. That sun will set during the 7 o'clock hour, and then we're back into the 50s. But our temps today above average by almost 10 degrees, and then heading into Easter weekend, we're going to have close to record temperatures for Saturday and Sunday here across the state. Our upper level weather pattern shows high pressure, the main story here across Utah through Monday. And then come Tuesday, we're going to have first our wind picks up on Monday and the chance for some rain to move into northern Utah, along with a brief cool down. And then by the end of next week, we're looking at by April 11th, potentially even colder air moving in for next weekend. But for Salt Lake over the holiday weekend, we'll have temperatures in the 70s. And look at this big drop from Monday into Tuesday, about a 20-degree drop is possible. And then we'll have those temperatures that are going to bring us much more seasonable temperatures into next week, but this weekend close to record temperatures. For the rest of your night across southern Utah, we'll keep the clouds mainly in the northern, southern half of Utah. I'm losing my words here, but this is going to move out very quickly. Don't expect a whole lot from the clouds that are moving in right now. And then early next week with that cool down, we're also going to have that chance for some rain to fill in Monday night into Tuesday here across the state and move out very quickly. But tomorrow morning as you wake up here across the state, it'll be for most of you in the 40s and then close to 30 for the mountains. And by tomorrow afternoon, Friday afternoon, Kel, 5 o'clock, we're getting ready for the weekend and it's going to be in the 70s for much of the state. St. George, you're close to 90 for Saturday and Easter Sunday. Wind picks up on Monday, and then your cool down brings you into the mid-70s by Tuesday. And for Salt Lake City, Wasatch Front, we'll have those temperatures close to 80 through the weekend, and then we'll cool down by Tuesday, see a few more chances for rain Tuesday and potentially Thursday night of next week.
Well, 1 week from today, the Salt Lake Bees will play their home opener at home against the Reno Aces. It's their season opener as well. So to get us ready, we have Major League Baseball's opening day today. Let's start with the defending World Series champion Dodgers on the road against the Rockies. LA's Cody Bellinger with a drive. It carries out of the arc for a 2-run home run for the former Ogden Raptor. But hold on. Justin Turner was at first. He thought it was caught. So he runs back to first, passing Bellinger. That's not allowed. Bellinger was called out. So instead of a 2-run home run, it's an RBI single. How about that? Former Utah Ute and Salt Lake Bee, C.J. Cron, has a couple of hits for the Rockies, including this ground rule double. He scored twice. The Rockies lead it 8-5 in the 9th inning. There was snow in Detroit for the Tigers opener against the Cleveland Indians. Miguel Cabrera rips it through the snowflakes. It's a 2-run home run, but check out Cabrera. He wasn't sure, so he slides into second base. The umpire's like, hey, that's a home run. So he gets up, runs around the bases for the home run. The Tigers beat the Indians 3-2. Utah and Tony Finau in the PGA Tour field at the Valero Texas Open. He had an up and down first round, that's for sure. This is third shot on the par 5 18th, just about knocks it in for Eagle. He would tap in for birdie to shoot an opening round 73, but he's tied for 57th, 1 over par. The leader is well ahead at 7 under par. It's Camilo Villegas. His one-shot lead at 7 under par. The Jazz won their 7th game in a row last night, beating the Memphis Grizzlies without Donovan Mitchell, who did not travel with the team for personal reasons. Everyone else came together to play a solid game, helping the Jazz improve to an NBA best 36-11.
It's a great win. It says a lot about, our character, our resiliency as a team. Obviously, without Donovan as well, we knew we were gonna, it was gonna be a tough night for us against a young team that competes and plays, as hard as any team in the league. And you don't beat a team 3 times in a matter of a week very often. So for us to come out, given the circumstances, we didn't make any excuses. We just went out there and played our ball and competed as best we could, and luckily we were able to get the win.
Jazz will host the Chicago Bulls tomorrow night. A good chance to move that winning streak to 8 in a row. We'll be right back.
Picture perfect day. Our Oquirrh Mountain camera up there. You can see the snow starting to melt. And hard to imagine an improvement on this, Allison.
Yeah, Mother Nature saying, just watch. I
can beat that. Have you all noticed the beautiful spring flowers blooming around town? Yeah, tulips coming up, and I love daffodils.
Oh yeah, the daffodils.
They're out there in full force now.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
We'll see you back here for Fox 13 News at 9.
Have a great night.